Hello, welcome and welcome back. This is Jacob and today we are gonna be both continuing and finishing off the narration and character voicing for the side story A Death in Chunfen. And as always, if you're new to this channel and these narrations, playlists are in the description of the video if you want to start from the beginning. And if you want to go even further back, considering that this side story is technically part of the Qiubai saga as a whole, playlists are all in numerical order from start to finish. And like I said on part 1, you don't need to start all the way from the beginning. However, my personal recommendation would be to go over the Vernal Winds side story at least, because that one carries pretty much Qiubai's entire character arc and development throughout its length, and explains why we are where we are with her in this side story. But also most importantly, thank you very much for all the likes and the comments on the previous part. As I always say, they both mean a lot to me and they help a lot in the algorithm, so thank you very much, very appreciated. So then, for the rest, if you want to skip the rest of this intro, timestamp is in the comment section below because this is part 2. We shall do a quick little recap of part number 1 and then we shall proceed into our story for today. So, refer to the timestamp in the comments down below, pinned comment by me, and you will be straight at the story. But, let us begin with the usual, which is on the previous part. So then, last time we began pretty much where we left off with Qiubai at, or rather in the ending of Vernal Winds. She was pursuing the members of the Shanghai Zhang outside of Yumen, and ran into one of their hideouts. In it, she pretty much quickly dispatched every single Shanghai Zhang she came across, but she also found a young boy by the name of Fang Xiaoxi. She quickly learned that the boy is there mostly to potentially his big misunderstanding of what the Shanghai Zhang are about, because the boy was searching essentially a group through which he would acquire some power for himself, so he could stop the bullying of his family back in his village, or rather the bullying that he perceived as being bullying for him and his father, as we will later learn very slowly. However, the journey back home would take a month, and Qiubai decides that she will be escorting the boy all the way back home so he does not run into more trouble. On the way back, they have quite the bonding experience, you could say. The boy keeps trying to run away, she keeps catching him again, and at one given point, he does try to escape yet again, but gets cornered by one of the wild beasts, almost gets mauled to death by the same beast, but Qiubai jumps in and saves his life. But she, in turn, gets ever so slightly injured by the whole kerfuffle that happened, after which the two of them would have a bit more of a bonding experience, or rather, Xiaoxi would have a much higher respect for her as a person, and would even start to call her master, or would like to be calling her master and have her teach him her own kung fu, which she promptly declines very quickly. The journey continues, they spend a month on the road, and they finally reach the village. Prior to reaching it, he does share a bit about what has transpired before, but mostly saying that the villagers will probably hate his guts when they get back. We do very quickly see that once they get back, the villagers are not really angry at him, but it's a mixture of being happy that he's still alive and bewilderment that he came back, and also not knowing what to do next because something else has transpired over the last couple of days just before he arrived. We do learn from a couple of flashbacks as well that prior to the boy leaving the village, he was very dissatisfied with how the village was treating him and his father. His mother already having been passed away years prior, but he is very dissatisfied because of one big thing that happened just then, and that was the fact that they put the village temple on top of a piece of land that his father was taking care of. The boy was very dissatisfied with that, claiming that the temple could have been placed anywhere else, including the giant portion of land that the village head is essentially having in his possession, but the boy decides to, well, blow up the temple, which kinda also backfires on him because he gets pretty seriously injured in that explosion, runs away, and goes all the way down to the Qiubai, which is sort of a connection route, or rather road connecting the vastness of Yan, its villages and several nomadic cities for pretty much a transportation route for merchants and any kind of other thing that needs to go between the villages and nomadic cities. He gets found by one of the merchant caravans that was on the way to another nomadic city, gets brought over there, treated, and then we do know the rest as he lands with the Shanghai Zhong later. But now he's back. He reunites with his father. It's a bit of an awkward situation between the two. And we also quickly learn what has transpired in the village and why the villagers are a bit on two fronts of what to do, or rather they are undecided of what to do next now. Considering that after he disappeared, they were looking for him for a solid month, but then declared him either gone, dead, or, well, maybe even eaten by the beasts in the wild. His father probably, or rather never gave up on him being alive, but also is very surprised and very happy that he's back. But now we have a bigger problem. A couple of days prior to them returning back home, or rather him returning back home, there was a corpse found near the village at the Qiubai after a mudslide, and the road being in a pretty sorry state at this point. And the villagers collectively decided to, well, they decided to do a scheme to get some money from the authorities. Essentially, they would claim that the body of the young man that they found, considering no one can recognize who he is the boy that disappeared 3 years ago, or rather, well, the boy that they think is gone, or dead already, Feng Xiaoxi, and they would claim that he was working on the Qiubai, and therefore they would be privy to quite a hefty sum of compensatory money from the authorities. But the boy is now back home, and the villagers do, or rather the village elder asks him directly, well, can you pretend to be dead, so we can actually claim the money? Which he obviously doesn't want to do, and they promptly lock him away, at least until the inspection would be complete and the death would be confirmed. However, we also see that the village elder is not very happy with what they're doing, or rather has doubts about what they're doing, as he is at one point in the temple apologizing to the monument in there, erected to in the honor of the village founder, and he's profoundly apologizing to it about what they're about to do. But at the same time, unbeknownst to him, he gets overheard, as he pretty much confesses to all of that, by none other than Saga, who is, well, she was both meditating and taking a small little nap right behind the monument. We also got as a bonus little recap here, we also get a small little glimpse into the foundation of the village. We see a scene play out hundreds of years prior in the past, in which the village founder, at the beginning alone, keeps toiling away with hoe in hand at the land, or rather at the mountain, claiming that if he doesn't never have the opportunity to clear away the mountain and form a land for his people there, that future generations will do so. People slowly gather around him and a small community forms. But one day, apparently to that tiny little cutscene that we had, the mountain disappeared. And it disappeared by being very dissatisfied that someone was picking away at his bum. Which immediately prompts me to thinking that he was potentially chipping away at the butt of a Faranmut. Which is very comical if that's the case. Anyway, that would be it for the quick little recap. So then, let us proceed into today's portion of the story. And we shall of course begin with the first part today, which is health and safety. So, let's begin. foul beast's calls echo through the wilderness, and a fresh sun peeks out from the horizon. The sun's color changes from day to day. Yesterday it was shining brightly, but today it glows weakly. A few sparse rays of light leak from the heavy clouds, coating the village in a layer of ashen gray. An elderly man sits in a wheelchair, staring blankly at his shed in front of him. He was instructed to call for help if he heard anything or saw someone trying to escape. Being so old and needing help to get around, there is not much for him to do. He was told the village has an important project, and once it's completed, everyone will be able to live a comfortable life. In order to complete the project, he must not let the one inside escape. He is old, but he can still offer some form of assistance to help the village. The morning breeze picks up, sending the blanket from his shoulders about a meter behind him. He wants to call for help, but worries that he shouldn't alarm the group over such a minor thing. He should only cry out over the task entrusted to him. Someone picks up the blanket, dusts it off, and drapes it over his shoulders. Oh, thank you. Who do you belong to, child?
You're welcome.
Are you the mandarins here? Are the mandarins here? When will they take the prisoner away? Is the project finished?
Do you know who is in there? Do you know what the project is?
What did you say? My hearing isn't good. Could you speak louder? Yes, I know. I'll just sit here. I'm not going anywhere. Yes, pay no mind to this old man. You young people are plenty busy. Don't worry, I'll keep an eye on things here. No one's getting past me. I've lived a life of hardship, and I won't let you young people go through that. I'll do what I have to do. The swordswoman pushes the old man's wheelchair a few steps forward, enough to catch the sun, then quietly leaves. Meanwhile,
this should be a westward road now, so I think I'm going in the right direction. Head straight after that sharp bend, and then turn left after passing the third fork. But what exactly counts as a fork here? Oh, I'm so glad somebody's here. Ni hao, sir. Would you happen to be from the village around here?
Huh? Who are you?
I'm part of the disaster relief team. I heard there was a mudslide a few days ago. I came to investigate the damage, but it looks like my map's not quite right. Have you heard of any villages around here that were struck by a mudslide?
Us mountain folk have all the paths around here memorized. I've never heard of someone making a decent map of the place. You must be asking about Moushan. That's where I'm from. We suffered some heavy rain 2 days back, and a section of the Qiubai got washed away, but the village is unscathed.
What a relief. So, I've been going the right way after all. How do I get to Moushan from here?
Just continue on this road and turn north when you hit the fork on the road. It's about half a day's walk.
Thank you very much.
We've laid the traps as the elder instructed, but I hope we don't need them. After all, she's only here to help the village. Let's try not to hurt her. Just lead her away. Well, I'm not the thinking type, so I'll do whatever you say. What a coincidence, huh? This was supposed to be just between us and heaven. But that stubborn messenger had to come knocking. Right, who was the girl from earlier? What's she here for? Oh, she said she was from a disaster relief team or something, and was here to check on the mudslide. And you let her through just like that? The elder told us to stop messengers here. What's that got to do with anyone else? You idiot! The elder station is here to stop the messengers! That means he doesn't want any outsiders ruining our plans! Doesn't disaster relief come from the government? What if the village isn't ready yet, and we've spoiled everything? I didn't think that far ahead, so what do we do now? What else can we do? Take the shortcut back to the village and tell the elder. Tell them to hide Feng Xiaoxi in a safe place and make sure he isn't found. How do I even break the news? Forget it. You stay here on the lookout and I'll go and report myself. Wait! You didn't tell me how the traps work. It looks pretty solid though, at a glance. You can't even tell where it is.
What's this now? Do you, need help?
Elder, bad news. The Mandarins are here early. How could this be? Didn't we agree on a time? I don't know myself. We were waiting at the village entrance to hold off any messengers, but that idiot Dafu spotted one and gave her actual directions instead. At this point, there is no turning back. Well, it was inevitable, and better sooner than later. There is no need to panic, just do what you've been tasked to do. I'll ready myself and head to the village entrance. Elder, are you sure you can handle this alone? I have some inkling of how to settle things. The rest of you, do not let Feng Xiaoxi escape and make a scene. The Mandarins might pay a visit to the hunter's place later. Right, if he dares make any noise, we'll just drag him out of the village. I've also tasked someone with sorting things out over there at the hunter's place. We've given him so many days, but it's time for him to place the grave marker. Alright, we'll go with this for now. Honored ancestors, please bless us. We must pass this test.
Ni hao.
Ni hao, ni hao. I am the clan elder of Moushan village. We've been anticipating your arrival. Your magisterial greatness honors us with your presence. We beg your forgiveness in forcing you to travel all the way to our remote village.
Magisterial? Honored Elder, I heard there was a mudslide a few days ago and wanted to get a deeper understanding of the situation.
Of course, of course. We have to be crystal clear about such an important incident. We have already finished the preparations. Shall I take you there now?
Preparations? Okay. I appreciate your cooperation.
Strange. Why did the government send such a young girl? The bag she's carrying, it doesn't look like it could hold 1 million. Feng Xiaoxi, time to go. Go where? No questions, just come with us.
Oh, looks like you're in a panic. Let me guess. An outsider showed up. Sure, I'll go right now and tell them all about your schemes.
Won't you just behave? Stop making trouble. You dare headbutt me? Grab a rope and come and help me tie him up. Hunter, it's about time. Just come with us and place the grave marker. Then it's all done. Why in a hurry? Didn't you say the Mandarins were coming tomorrow? I don't know why, but they're here today. So we have to finish our side of the job early. But I'm not done carving yet. This Cebu character is still a few strokes short. This is a pretty serious thing, so we can't do a shoddy job here. We don't have time. This is all an act. Why worry about stuff like that? Fine. I'm coming. The mudslide happened a few days ago, overnight, and this boy was at the Qidao worksite. Feng Xiaoxi was born and raised here in this village. We all loved him as a good boy with a virtuous heart, ever since he was little. He knew how difficult it was to build roads through the mountains and how important this project was to the village. He probably wanted to salvage some materials, and as a result...
I didn't expect a tragedy like this. I'm so sorry for your loss. Disasters are merciless, but at least, wherever they happen, people always look out for each other.
Well said, madam. Feng Xiaoxi did not die in vain, at least. He perished for the sake of the village, and we will remember him always. When things have settled down, we will inscribe his name in our temple. And for his father, his sole living relative, the village will come together to care for him.
Honored elder, you have a kind heart.
No, I am our clan's elder, so this is the least I can do. Having said all that, we should probably get down to business, no?
You mean?
Rude as it is for me to be so forward, I'm afraid I have to ask when the compensation money will arrive. Or after you verify things on your end, of course.
Compensation money?
Please, madam, you mustn't toy with us. Fang Xiaoxi's death should be considered an accident suffered in the execution of the Qiubai project, so it is reasonable to expect some compensation money. It's not that I hunger for wealth, but this sum of money is critically important to our village.
I think there's been a misunderstanding, honored elder. I'm not too familiar with the workings of accidental death compensation, but the government should have someone responsible for that. I'm with Shuxian, a disaster relief organization. I'm here to investigate the cause of the mudslide. This tragedy is heartbreaking and irreversible, but we have to do our best to make sure it doesn't happen again.
But, this... The frantic villager that fell into his own trap is angrily moaning.
Don't move. Let me take a look. Seems fine. You didn't break your ankle, at least. How is it? Can you walk?
Thank you.
What's going on? Why are there hunting traps on this path?
Well, spring has just begun and some beasts made their way into the village 2 days back, so we're taking some precautions.
You still shouldn't lay traps where people walk, though. It's too dangerous. See, you only caught yourself. Well, I'll come and help you after I'm done with my work. I'm pretty good at repelling beasts. I've got some letters to deliver, so I'd better get a move on.
Wait.
Is there something else?
Are you heading to Moushan?
Yeah, what's up?
You can't go there.
And why not?
Because... Oh yeah, in case you didn't know, a mudslide hit this area 2 days ago and washed out the road.
If the road is out, then how did you get here? If you could get out, then I can get in. It's just a little mountain climbing, no big deal.
No, wait.
What else?
I told them I was a horrible liar and they still put me out here. Yeah, I'll just say it. I'm supposed to keep you from going over there. Even if I have to lie, or convince you or whatever, I can't let you go to the village today, even if I have to fight you.
I knew it. You've been acting weird this whole time. What exactly are you guys trying to pull here?
Oh my, I'm really going senile. If you're here about the mudslide, there really isn't much to say. It happened some distance away from the village, so no one was really affected by it. I'm sorry you took the trouble to come all the way out here, but the village is fine and there's nothing worth investigating.
Honored Elder, if I could have a moment, there are still some things I want to confirm. A mudslide is not unusual at this time of year, but as I understand it, it is standard procedure to build some protective fortifications on the mountain slopes before working on the Qiubai proper to prevent these kinds of accidents. If the fortifications were erected properly, the Qiubai shouldn't have been washed away by the mudslide in the first place. If there were issues with the fortifications here, it means there might be issues with structural integrity elsewhere as well. That means there's still a chance of another mudslide further damaging the Qiubai or even hitting the village. So I have to head up the mountain and get to the bottom of this.
You want to go up the mountain?
Honored Elder, could you show me the way up?
Well, I'll be frank with you, girl. It's not that I don't want to help you, but it's the height of planting season. Everyone here is busy with farm work, and one man leading the way means one less hand to work the fields.
If you really have no time to spare, I'd appreciate it if you would be so kind as to point me in the general direction, so I can make my way up alone.
The roads in these mountains are rugged and difficult to traverse, with many branching paths. You could find it very difficult.
Worry not, I shall show thee the way.
You... Young Shifu Saga, what are you still doing here?
The past few days I have enjoyed thine care whilst wandering these parts. Though I may be lacking in agricultural ability and unable to assist in farming, I am at least be able to serve as a guide.
Young Shifu, now is not the time.
Honored Elder, I don't really understand what's going on. I get the feeling you really don't want me going up the mountain. This whole time you've been talking about how much damage the disaster has caused the village. So why don't you care about keeping it from happening again? Elder, the hunter! Elder, please.
I'll be right there. Today is the day we put Feng Xiaoxi to rest. Everyone present will bear witness. To send off a boy less than half your age is truly difficult, but life and death know not reason. You have done a meritorious service, dying for the village's sake. I pray you are reborn in a better family and place in your next life, and not somewhere like here. And thus I declare Feng Xiaoxi is dead. Hunter, as his father, I think it would be best for you to place your son's grave marker yourself. Wait, I have a question. You say Xiaoxi died for the village, and will be buried here. But have you truly treated him as one of your own? Even when we're finished here, will you really let him live in the village? What are you asking? Come on, the Mandarins might just be around the corner. Don't screw this up for us. How could I even? All of you know that I'm hurt and sick. You could say I'm already halfway in the ground at this point. I've been long content to live on like this, but for Xiaoxi, let my son live in peace. Didn't we already agree to that? The elder even swore an oath in the temple once we finish this. The village will take care of you both. Why so uneasy? Hunter, what are you waiting for? I'm just worried. You need us right now, but who knows what will happen after you get your money. How will you treat us then? I really have no idea. Reminds me of something someone said to me yesterday. A man is never truly satisfied. The hunter loosens his grip, and the wooden tablet in his hand falls to the ground. Hey, we need money to survive and tend to the land. What's that to you? Is the elder's word not enough? Do you need the whole village to kowtow before our ancestor for you to believe us? That's not what I mean. We're out of time, there's nothing else we can do. The crowd rushes the lone man, grabbing his arms and forcing him to the grave. One of them picks up the grave marker and shoves it back into the man's hand. Holding the piece of wood in the midst of the crowd, he lowers his head like a burden beast. The unfinished grave marker falls slowly toward the grave. A long sword flashes across the space, splitting the wooden grave marker in two. Facing rebels, bandits, seasoned generals, kung fu masters, whether in a fight or a competition, the way she unsheathed her sword was always more natural and unreserved than the action she just took. The sword only barely tapped into its power, sending splinters flying erratically. Before leaving Yumen, she told that man, "I will find a place to bring this sword to its full potential. But what's the point of drawing a blade before a group of unarmed villagers? Should she have drawn? Was she right to try and stop this? But why even wield a sword? If you stay silent in the face of injustice,
placing that grave marker would defile 2 lives.
Miss Chu, you're still here?
I've been worried this plot of yours could go past the point of no return. And I was absolutely right to worry.
You know everything?
Every last detail.
Then you should know we're just trying to survive here.
These past 2 days, I've heard something to that effect dozens of times. A corpse, a name, a sum of money. Can you only survive by trampling the dignity of others?
She does not raise her voice, but the villagers present shrink back from her. She scans their faces, the people look at her with trepidation, and at the sword in her hand. Such looks are all too familiar to her. Perhaps they fear more than just a sword, though. There are many things here that could seal their fates. Perhaps they fear this sword, or perhaps the weeds of the wilderness. But have they known anything other than hardship? The light of her sword disappears as she slips it back into its sheath, without pointing the blade at another soul. Honored master. This is none of your concern. I know kung fu masters like you fight for justice, but you are a mighty swordswoman while we are... You couldn't hope to understand our lives.
There is no difference between you and I. Mom, I found a government notice in Dad's bag. Bandits have gathered in Jiangxi, causing immeasurable suffering to the good people of the area. The troublemakers will be eliminated within the next few days, but amnesty will be granted to those miscreants who have the sense to surrender. Mom, please tell Dad to stop. It's still not too late. Just think about it, for your daughter's sake.
Birds are cheap. We could surrender, but then what next?
Those merchants along the river, the footmen carrying grain, what wrongs have they done?
I can't help it. If needs to place blame, blame the mountains for being too high or the currents for being too fast.
But...
take good care of our daughter. Some people are born rich, powerful, or noble, knowing not how the world truly works. Some are born to displaced families, living the same as migratory beasts, struggling day by day, with no time or opportunity to think about settling down. It is a universal sight, catastrophes hanging over their heads, pushing the land to its limits. There is no true justice in this world, but are the weeds by the river or the stones of the wilderness to follow, to abide it regardless? This does not mean we should accept this injustice without reservation.
I have spent 5 years in Jiangxi and another 5 in Yumen. I have turned on the edge of this blade too many times to count. It feels like if was short a single piece of guidance or wavered in my spirit, I would have become something like the Shanghai Zhang. I would have become someone like my father. I understand your struggles, but they are no excuse for injustice. There is never an excuse for injustice. For the river will eventually swallow us all. I've been reluctant to step in. But just how far do you intend to take this? Thanks, Xiaoxi. What happened to him?
Zhou Li and Zhou Si were taking him to the mountain behind the village.
To the summit?
Everyone was afraid he'd make trouble, so we decided to take him someplace far away. We never expected him to...
It's not too late.
It's as if the snow melted as quickly as it fell, and the swordswoman lost the tracks she had been following. The hunter, still in a daze, gets to his feet and tries to catch up to her. 2 pieces of wood lay on the ground, surrounded by splinters. Some words he understood, and some he did not. The crowd gathers around the empty grave, exchanging glances. They seem to be thinking about something, but at the same time, look like they've forgotten something else. We're done for.
Are you the resident monk here, Shifu Saga? You seem familiar with the place. I have taken a number of momentary respites in my travels, and happened nearby the past couple of days, and so I bore witness to accident. Now, thou art learned in the methods of disaster relief, thine undertaking to comprehend the circumstances of the mudslide will indeed help prevent similar disaster in future. A most excellent thing. Thank you for escorting me, Shifu. I don't know what I would do if the villagers kept standing in my way. Dost thou know the reason for the villagers' relentless obstruction? Is there something hidden beneath the mudslide? Mortal ability is indeed limited, and all that occurs on this plane is merely as one glimpses a beast through a pipe. As to secrets hidden within a catastrophe, I dare not engage in wanton talk. I feel there are matters I have yet to comprehend, and so I guide thee upon the mountain. Said begets truth, and so upon arriving at our destination, thou shalt see with thine own eyes and come to know the truth.
For anybody who plays Final Fantasy XIV, Saga speaking always gives me Urianger vibes. Thou must. God, that guy. Anyway, pardon.
This is where the mountain broke off.
Mulberry approaches the precipice and crouches down without thinking, the dirt and rock leaving marks on her skirt. The site of the incident lies far below, the mud appearing as if someone had casually tossed sand onto the carefully constructed lifeline, which is now severed and scribbled over.
Well, hast thou made a discovery? The expression worn upon thy face is unpleasant. I'm beginning to wonder, was the mudslide really a natural occurrence? There have been a number of consecutive rainstorms in the area recently, and I myself took shelter in the village on account. Northwestern Yan has always been a dry, mountainous region. Extra dry these past 2 years. Rainfalls have been concentrated in spring and summer, and a nearby catastrophe has also exacerbated the climate change. Vegetation is sparse and difficult to plant. These are mostly barren mountains with inhospitable soil and rock. What fertility the soil has is only getting worse. Coupled with intense bursts of rainfall, conditions are perfect for natural mudslides. But, Shifu Saga, take a look over there. The section that didn't collapse. Those are the protective fortifications. Yeah, Yan has thousands of Qiubais crisscrossing the wastes and mountains where catastrophes are frequent. Regular maintenance and rebuilding are necessary, so the initial construction efforts tend to see the most effort. The more complex the terrain, the more resources the construction gets. Engineering teams reinforce the mountains on both sides of the Qiubai, using solid foundations to ensure it is safe to use. I have come to understand that the mountains on either side of the Qiubai should have been more secure. But more importantly, I found some explosive residue. Explosives? Might they have been evidence of Qiubai engineers drilling holes into the mountain when they established the fortifications? When I was entering an Qiuxian.
Forgot for a second, Jesus.
When I was entering at Qiuxian, we worked with Qiubai engineering teams on scouting missions, assessments, and resource operations. They emphasize precision and control during construction and use standardized explosives developed by Ministry of Engineering for their drilling and blasting. But in the residue I found here, the gunpowder looks really rough. It looks more homemade. On my way here, I chanced upon some hunters blocking the entrance to a sand beast cave with explosives crafted from clay. But who would bury such explosives on this barren summit?
The wandering monk accidentally kicks a stone. The stone rolls a ways down the slope before coming to a stop in a clear depression. She pokes at the surrounding vegetation with her naginata, and the winding tracks are almost instantly blown away by the wind.
What's wrong, Shifu?
The tracks were made by a mobility scooter. The old man barely drags his feet over the steps and staggers towards the outskirts of the village. The sun gradually tilts west, forming a resplendent sunset. The last rays of the light are just right, not too hot or cold, warming him up. At this hour, he would normally have just finished with the day's work or settled a village affair. There is never enough time in the farming season, but to him a day has never felt so long. He walks aimlessly until his legs give in and he sits down on the ground in a daze.
Elder?
Why are you here? Weren't you supposed to...
Here's your money, Elder.
What are you talking about? The exhausted messenger sets the package on the ground. It gives off a muffled, heavy sound, the dust almost striking the old man's face.
Did you forget? You submitted an application 2 years ago. The subsidy you've been waiting for, it's finally here. I sent out the instant I got your message. Yep, after Chunfen this year, the village should have some state-of-the-art farming equipment, and every household can buy a new thing or two. The government didn't forget about Moushan. It's just that the catastrophe made for a pretty long delay. Elder?
The old man does not move from his spot, his mouth wide open. He wants to say something, but nothing comes out. The bundle of money on the ground is incredibly heavy. The old man feels his vision blurring, as if the mountain cleared by the excavator thousands of years ago had returned, weighing on his heart. Go quickly. Go and release Feng Xiaoxi. Elder? Feng Xiaoxi, he jumped off the mountain. Alright then, and let us continue on to our next part, which is Nameless Minion.
How'd it go? I got it. The elder didn't see you, did he? He wasn't home. I think he went to the Yishan temple to make an offering to the ancestors. That's good. I don't want to get chewed out again. Anyway, hurry up. Let's take a look. What are all these buttons for? This round thing here looks like a flashlight stuck inside. Is this really the camcorder thingy-magic lady messenger was talking about? Camcorder. This is definitely it. Lady Messenger's magazine had an ad for a machine just like this. I saw it when the elder took it from that guy yesterday. Can this camcorder thing really suck people inside? What the heck? You're talking about recording. Okay, turn it on and already and let's see what it can do. I'm trying, but it's not doing anything. The mudslide yesterday might have messed up some of the mechanisms. You're just pretending like you know what to do. Let me try. Hey, hands off. My head. For what reason have you children cast a stone at me? It is no matter. I feel no pain from the stone. I carry no blame for you children. Can we have that back? Should I return it to you? It would be unbecoming if you then attacked another soul with it. It's a camcorder, not a rock. I see. So this is a camcorder. In Higashi, I heard the brothers speak of such a device. Though lightweight and small in shape, it faithfully retains the likeness of any image in perpetuity. After parting ways with my head priest, I spent a long while wandering the lands of Great Yan, including a fair bit of time inside the paint scroll of a certain master. Therein I witnessed countless wonders. Though we will never meet again, I am left with deep regret. With a device like this in hand, never again must I suffer the sorrows of people and places bygone, never to be seen again. May I look at the camera? Sure, go for it. It's already busted anyway. Such a small screen, yet able to flip like this. Remarkable. There is a cover behind the device that opens. Oh my, the screen is illuminated. You turn it on? But how? Hey, tell me what's inside. For someone like you who doesn't really know the people here, who are you to judge our lives and look down upon us? What gives you the right to talk about change? You've got a lot of grand talk about compassion, but in the end you're just looking down on us, pitying us. Leave me alone. The woman inside blinks blankly, and Saga suddenly realizes that she is looking at her own face. The image has vanished, the screen turning back into a reflective surface. That's it? You didn't break it by forcing it on, did you? Let go of me. Rotten kid, settle down. No biting either. What are you dragging me up the mountain for? What are you gonna do to me? You must have been feeling really stuffy locked in that shed, right? We're just taking you out for some fresh air before heading back. You think I'm an idiot? The mandarins are here, aren't they? I hit the nail on the head. I'm going back down. I'm going to tell the mandarins what you're up to. Is that your plan? Not satisfied and really ruined life for everyone, huh? You people are the ones who sold your souls, and you're trying to make this my fault. Sold our souls? We agreed to keep you fed out of the goodness of our hearts. You call that selling our souls? If only I could trade the name Zhou Liu for some money to buy food. Hey, don't bother trying to reason with him. Won't do you a bit of good. Think we haven't tried to talk sense into him? We've tried everything under the sun, and the kid still won't budge. Thanks, Xiaoxi. You're not going anywhere. You're staying right here on this mountain. Grab him! There's no way you'll get past all of us. Just simmer down. You're up against a cliff. If you don't watch your step, you might just... Cut the crap already. Why, you little... Don't test us, Fang Xiaoxi. Hey, Zhou Shi, don't tell me you... The elder didn't say we could... If he keeps this up, we're gonna attract unwanted attention. And we can't have that. I'm telling you, I'm going down this mountain today. Even if you somehow manage to keep my mouth shut and get your cash, I will expose you sooner or later. Even if I die, I'm going to live on. Or if you think you've got what it takes, kill me right here. I see. I get it now, Fang Xiaoxi. You're just a wild beast cub that we haven't domesticated. 3 years ago, you blew up the Yishan temple and cut off the lifeblood of our village. 3 years later, you're going to drive every last one of us to our deaths. What are you doing? Stop!
Master? You're still here?
Shifu Saga, I don't understand. That elder didn't seem like a bad man, so why? I am reminded of a story I heard on my travels. Wouldst thou have me recount it, good Mulberry? Yes. There was once a Qiubai, a lawman, who worked hard all his life and devoted himself to his duties. Though he was poor, he eked out a stable, comfortable life. Once he was ordered to capture a group of bandits in the mountains. When he did see their cave full of hoarded treasure, he could not restrain the evil thoughts that arose within him. The Qiubai took 2 pieces of pure gold, a mere 2 pieces, and hid them in his pocket. His actions were discovered by a fellow lawman. The latter dangled this over his head, seeking to blackmail him into splitting the loot equally. The Qiubai was indignant and slew his fellow lawman in a fit of rage. He made as if the deed was done by the bandits and returned to report back home. How could anyone do something so awful? My response was similar upon first hearing the tale. Alas, know that the story is far from over. When the Qiubai arrived at the foot of the mountain, he met the fallen lawman's wife. He knew not why she would appear here, and panic set into his paranoia-gripped heart. Resolving to see things through to the end, he murdered her as well. The Qiubai beheld the bloodstained knife in his hand, confused and frightened at the same time, before hurriedly fleeing back home. However, these murders were quickly discovered. The Qiubai knew he would not escape his crimes and condemned his entire family, turning to a life of banditry. As for how the Qiubai became an infamous bandit, carrying calamity in his wake, or how he ultimately lost his life and left not a trace behind, I shall not elucidate the specifics. Who would guess that 2 pieces of gold could lead to all of that? Indeed. My head priest said evil thoughts are beasts residing within the hearts of men, which must be beaten into submission every now and then. As such, my mission is to ensure the temple bells never cease. After all, it is difficult to contain a wild beast once it is freed from its cage.
The drifting monk bends down and rubs a pinch of gunpowder-stained clay between her fingers.
They say the weather is as unpredictable as the human heart. The winds and rains are unpredictable indeed, and managing them to avert calamity is best left to experts such as thyself. All I can offer is to join thee on one leg of thy journey. I ought to go down the mountain. This is the 2nd time I've saved your life. I hope there won't be a 3rd.
Miss Qiu, wait for me. Xiaoxi. The hunter laboriously manages to catch his breath, plopping himself down on a large rock nearby. Never expected this path to be so rough. I don't have the endurance for this. Back when I was young, I once saw a tappy beast. My aim wasn't good enough, and my arrow lodged in its buttocks. The beast started darting about in a frenzy. You rarely see a tappy beast that plump, and I didn't want to let it get away, so I chased after it like my lungs did deep breath. Finally, I caught the beast in a grassy clearing, a few li away, and had myself a feast. But now my body is covered with wounds, barely able to draw a bowstring, barely able to swing a hoe. I barely made it in time to save my own child.
Dad, what are you trying to say?
I'm just glad that you're fine. Miss Qiu, these men...
Don't worry, they're only unconscious. But I can't guarantee they won't suffer from headaches for a fortnight after waking up. In any case, they deserve some punishment for what they've done.
Yes, you're right.
They didn't do anything to you, did they?
No, not at all.
I'm glad. What are those bastards in the village doing now? I bet they're putting on a whole song and dance, bawling their eyes out while showing the mandarins the grave. Now that I'm a free man, I'm not gonna let them get away with it.
The young man storms down the side of the mountain, careful to administer a couple of sharp kicks to the villagers collapsed on the ground. But he suddenly comes to a halt. A hand is tugging on his arm, and even through his clothes, he can feel the abrasion from the calluses on that hand. He lowers his head, and the old man seems to apply even more force to his grip, turning away to avoid his gaze. Xiaoxi, hold on.
You didn't just come to save me, did you? You're also here to stop me.
Two of the blue stone tiles in front of the altar are gone. He took the pieces the last time he was here, not having had time to replace them yet. The layer of soil beneath the floor tiles is damp, cooler to the touch than the blue stone. The old man feels this coolness with his forehead. The statue of the ancestor cannot speak, so he must be first to say something. But what is there for him to say? Honored ancestor, it's all my fault. I never thought an investigator would come to the village. I never thought that we'd drive the boy Feng Xiaoxi into despair. After all, I saw him grow up before my very eyes. I never thought that 3 years after he left the village, leaving no trace of whether he lived or died, that he would return now, of all times. I truly don't know what came over me, what possessed me to agree to use his name to swindle the compensation money. I never thought that, in the middle of the night during such a heavy rainstorm, a boy would chance upon the Qiubai. All I could think was, if this part of the Qiubai was destroyed, that would have kept the maintenance work going for another half a year or so. Even 2 or 3 months would have been enough. Once the work started, we'd all have an extra bit of income. Things would have been so rough the last few years. It'd at least be better than sitting around waiting for heaven to do something. The Yishan temple used to be the heart of the village, but now it's at the entrance. The place you dug out from the mountains for future generations has slowly been reclaimed, devoured over the last few decades. If we keep pushing our luck on this mountain, on this land, soon we won't even have this temple. So that's why I buried those explosives, to take advantage of the torrential spring rain to cause an accident. But as long as there was a better way, I wouldn't have resorted to such disgraceful methods. I never imagined it would lead to all this. Why must heaven torment us so?
Venerable Elder, were these words meant for the forebears who dug out this mountain, or for thyself?
Just hold on there, my boy.
They almost pushed me off the cliff, Dad. These aren't good people. There's no telling how low they'll stoop.
Nobody knew the mandarins would come a day early. Things happened too quickly, and everyone was in panic. Some things were unavoidable. I know everybody went a little overboard, but I promise I'll help the elder explain things. Still, you can't go down there now.
After all this, you're still covering for them?
I'm not trying to cover for anybody.
I remember asking you this. Will staying in the village really guarantee safety and peace?
The villagers wouldn't do anything to Xiaoxi. Yesterday they swore before their ancestor at the Yishan temple, the clan elder, and all of them promised me.
You'll take their word for it? I'm sure you know Feng Xiaoxi's temperament. He won't go along with them. He'll insist on keeping his name, just as you did with your land those years ago. Or are you planning to keep him locked up forever? If you lose control of him and he ruins the whole plan, what will the villagers do then? Evil, once summoned, does not stop at your request. As I said, whatever's going on in Moushan is no more ridiculous than anything I've seen before. I don't want to get involved, and it really isn't my business. But I've never trusted you.
Miss Qiu, are you saying... You knocked Zhou Xi and Zhou Liu out in a single move just now. I saw it all. If you really wanted to get in our way, you take down everyone in the village with a move or two, tie us up and hand us over to the mandarins. We couldn't lift a finger to stop you.
That's not how I do things.
I admit there's a reason behind your words. No matter how driven to desperation someone is, no matter if it seems like there's no other way, none of that is an excuse to turn to evil. But the fact that you hold a sword, that you know Kung Fu, that's what lets you go looking for another path, to hold on to the things you care about. There will always be another way for you, but it's not like that for us. Still, swords are useless in these ravines. A sword won't save the arable land. It won't control the crazy weather. It won't save the 100 or so people here. Not even just me and my son. All we can do is wait for the rain. Wait for someone who can dig us out of the mountain's grasp to show up. All we can do is wait for the Qiubai to need more repairs, for more nomadic cities to be built, so everyone can move in and live stable lives. But how boundless is this patch of dirt? How many ravines are there out there, just like ours? There may be no rhyme or reason to what I'm saying, but I hope you understand what I'm getting at, Miss Qiu.
I understand perfectly well, which is precisely why I can't stand by and watch.
Just let us go this time, out of the goodness of your heart.
Master, let him be. He's my dad. Let me deal with him myself.
I thought you were taking the investigator up the mountain. What are you doing here?
Venerable Elder, may I help myself to the fruit on this table?
Can we just for a moment appreciate that big, giant, stupid smile? Good lord. Anyway.
I have eaten nothing today. I am both hungry and thirsty after my archers tracked down the mountain. Surely thou hast the compassion in thy heart to spare a piece of fruit?
Did you hear what I just said?
Ah, this bit of dried fruit is soft and chewy, sweet and sour. It even bears a faint fragrance of the branch. Truly delectable. More than thy words alone, I have heard other such utterances these past few days. If thou would see these things concealed, then thou shouldst toss them in the cellar, as with dried fruit, such that thou needst not visit this temple. But of course they would emerge at the slightest hint of the breeze, sooner or later. So my knowledge of the matter makes no difference.
That investigator girl, does she already know? I think I know why you're here now. You must be the one who helped Xiaoping and Xiaoan turn on the camcorder too. You found me both times I came to this temple. Could your arrival here be a warning from the ancestors? I've grown too old, too adult, too slow to realize.
I was simply wandering the lands of Great Yan when I happened to stop here, and was thus delayed for a few days. Even had I not arrived, someone else would have come, and some other incident would have taken place.
At first I assumed all these years I had never done anything for Moushan. What had I done to deserve my title? But in the end, man has no business doing heaven's work. We only end up hurting others and ourselves. 2 lives wasted. How am I ever to answer for them?
Thy machinations were never particularly thorough in the first place, rather sloppy actually. But I must wonder, why dost thou repent for insufficiently thorough planning?
I just was thinking, what if you had come to Moushan sooner? If I had met you before, maybe I wouldn't have found all these wild thoughts in my head. Maybe none of this would have happened.
Did I not just say that I arrived by chance? My presence here is not such a significant thing. Besides, is there a man whose heart truly harbors no evil?
Shouldn't a monk shun evil and uphold virtue? Wouldn't it ruin your practice to harbor evil in your heart?
Dost thou believe that having such thoughts ruins one's practice? Before leaving Dusk's Scroll, I happened upon a version of myself that had become a gambler. That me could not resist the temptation of dice and chips, pawning her ceremonial mokugyo, selling her possessions, giving in to unrestrained debauchery, getting friends and companions involved, and carrying out all sorts of unconsociable acts.
As a quick little addition, the word mokugyo here, obviously coming from, as it is the Japanese word for a wooden drum in the shape of a fish. If I remember clearly right now from the wiki page, essentially it's a ceremonial drum which is used in Buddhism for like keeping rhythm with chanting, essentially. And as a bonus little thing, in Chinese it is called a muyet. Anyway, continuing.
Before she left the temple, the head priest called out for her to stop, and they each took a stick in hand and enjoyed a most excellent duel. From the beginning of the crescent moon's ascent to the dawning of the sun in the east, the monk never understood why the head priest struggled with each move, as if fighting for survival rather than sport. She had already forgotten the result of the duel. Only occasionally in a trance would she remember her stick hovering above the priest's head. In that moment, did she think to complete the downward strike? To harbor evil thoughts is hardly unexpected, logical even.
Shifu.
Not only in the painted scroll, but also in the realm of dreams. Once, when I was famished, I happened upon a pregnant she-beast. The first thought that crossed my mind was, less fatter than the he-beast. I was also wrongfully imprisoned once. I was bound in a way that made it difficult to escape, my hand nearly pressed against the naginata behind me. And yet, the woman you see before you is the same nonetheless. I recall the sutra that the head priest recited. Man has natural desire for food, as well as the potential for evil. Since it is inevitable, what is so wrong about harboring such thoughts within your heart? They are nothing more than thoughts.
Nothing more than thoughts.
Also, though I do not recall exactly when or where it happened, I once had the privilege of meeting a swordsmith. A swordsmith was a strange man, determined to seek the strongest and sharpest blade in the land, and at the same time was purely kind-hearted and strove to never kill again. He built a hut in the mountains, and I accompanied him for a full 3 months. I watched the furnace's flames spring to life and go out, time and again. I saw billets forged, then melted, then forged. At long last he produced a blade, shaped like the floating clouds, glistening in all its brilliance, yet lacking a sharpened edge.
It was dull?
He said, "Sharpen not the blade, and thou shalt not fear for harming another." But alas, no harm another depends not on the blade, but on oneself.
You're quite a forthcoming individual. But not everyone can see or think as clearly as you. Not everyone can restrain their thoughts and prevent them from turning into actions, no matter the time or place.
On the contrary, I believe it is because these thoughts are difficult to restrain. Releasing them causes great calamity. It is like unto ringing the bell and chanting daily. After years and years, one naturally feels the temptation to grow slothful, but to strike the bell even one fewer time would render all previous efforts meaningless. How many kowtowed to heaven for a single drop of rain, only to provoke a mudslide? Evil thought and evil deed differ by only one word, yet the difference in consequences could hardly be greater. This indeed began with my thoughts, but the moment they became reality, they had left thy control. Now that everything has been set into motion, how canst thou seeketh to explain it all away by claiming thou thought not of them?
Xiaoxi, it's true that I'm helping them, but I'm also helping us. We've lived in Moushan for so many years. We're a part of the village.
Dad, I know how you used to wander the wilderness, hunting and selling game just to eke out a living. I know how hard it was. You wanted shelter from the wind and rain. You were finally able to settle down in Moushan, and using the money you scrapped together year after year, you were able to buy a few plots of land and make your home. You can't bear to leave the land or your house. After all, you owe everything to this place. So no matter what happens, you're willing to take things in stride. When Mom ran off, they bullied us for being the only family outside the Zhou clan. And when they insisted on moving the rundown temple onto your land, you agreed to it. And now when they're trying to take my name and turn me into a dead man, you've given in again. If there's another disaster or whatever in the future and they come for our land, our house and our lives, are you just gonna go along with that too? Your life is what you make for yourself. It's not something other people give to you.
I know. But if you head down right now and turn the entire village into the investigator, how do you think it's going to turn out? Forget about me. I don't even have that many years left in me. But you're only 15. How are you going to be able to stay here?
Why do we need to stay here in the first place? Push comes to shove, we leave Moushan and get out of the mountains and settle down in a nomadic city. Doesn't matter if there's no land to farm. There are plenty of opportunities in the cities. I can take on all kinds of jobs. I could learn Kung Fu and become as strong as Master Qiu. I'll earn lots of money and help you get better. Believe it or not, I've been traveling all around these past 3 years. I've been everywhere, seen everything.
You really do take after your mother. Back then, everyone in the village wanted to safeguard the land reclaimed by the excavators and pray to heaven to put food on the table. Your mother was the only one who wanted to get out of the mountains. She wanted to go to Yumen, to Xiangshu, to Lungmen, to experience a different life in a nomadic city that we had never even heard of. Your mother married me because I was a hunter who traveled all over the place. It wasn't until I bought this land with my life savings, and after you were born, that I was chained to this place like an old burden beast. Only then did she realize I didn't come here just to rest my feet. The day that salesman had coaxed her away, I chased you into the wilderness, just in time to bring you back. That woman passed away a few years ago. She sent a letter. It took a great many months for it to reach my hands. The only thing in the envelope was a sum of money, compensation for her death, left to Xiaoxi. She followed the salesman to a city to try to make a living, but went back to the wilderness after just 6 months or so. I don't know what happened after that. The message had been handed off to 5 or 6 different messengers, and the details had become blurry, but when I held that pitifully thin envelope, it wasn't hard to guess. We handed the money over to the village, in the end, and they used it to repair the temple Xiaoxi blew up. My boy, if it was easier to survive in a city than here in Moushan, you wouldn't be here today. Over the past 3 years, have you even learned enough to let you live a dignified life, let alone enjoy a grand career? If so, can you tell me why Miss Xu brought you back here? It's not that I can't bear to part with the land or this house. I planned it all out. When the compensation money came through, I was gonna use it to go looking for you, and then Moushan would have been my home no more. But you came back. Miss Xu brought you back home. When you walked back into the village, I decided, no matter what, I couldn't let you leave again. I wasn't born here. I've seen what it's like out there, but is that life any better than the one here in this mountain village? In this world, there are many ways to live, but not everyone has the privilege of choosing theirs. All I want is for you to be able to live your life in peace. It's already hard enough to live a peaceful, ordinary life.
If by living my life in peace you mean spend the rest of my life with nothing, not even my own name, I don't want any of that.
A name is a small price to pay for food, money, and security for the rest of our lives.
I can't accept it, Dad. I'm not some weed growing in a crevice on this mountain. I'm not an animal that roams the vast wilderness. I'd rather die then.
The boy's voice cracks from how emotional he gets, and he stumbles backwards in embarrassment, nearly falling over. His voice is immature and hoarse, the strong wind atop the mountain tugging at his cracked voice as it trails off, distorted yet still coming across resolutely. You really are a stubborn kid. I can't convince you, and it's not like I expect you to think about me. But I can't let you go down the mountain today, no matter what. If you press on anyway, I'm going to throw myself headfirst off the edge of this cliff. The hunter lowers his head. The boy seems to calm down somewhat, and though he still has more to say, he does not open his mouth again. Fine sand splashes across the people's faces. In these desolate mountains, the wind is ever dry, even during spring. Nobody says a word. The swordswoman quietly moves a few steps closer to the edge of the cliff.
Dad, lift your head and look at me.
The hunter shakes his head.
Dad, is it better for everyone if Feng Xiaoxi dies?
Yes. Feng Xiaoxi should be no more. When he was little, he used to kick pebbles off the cliff one after another, patiently waiting for the sound to come from afar. He and his name are just like those small stones. And now, he has become one with those stones. The speed with which he plummets from the cliff is not so fast. He even has time to think of the tusk beast he and Qiubai saw in the woods, remembering the look in its dying eyes. Was it one of unwillingness, panic, or relief? Is it the wind? The wind supports his back. The spring breeze flows through the temple, kicking up a cloud in the fine dust. The sun shines high overhead, the warmth outside contrasting with the temple's chilly interior. The old man's hunched back quivers slightly, but he nevertheless remains seated. The wandering monk draws 2 steps closer to him. When I think back on everything that's happened over the last few days, it seems almost like a dream. The man who went up the mountain to bury the explosives, the man who personally wrote the application letter to the government, and the man who lied to the investigator just now. Was that really me? How nice it would be if you told me that this was all a dream.
I recall a saying I once heard, "Don't speak of dreams to fools." Dost thou now see thyself the fool?
Ridiculous, isn't it? 3 years ago, Feng Xiaoxi left the village after blowing up the Yishan temple, but I used them myself that night. The very same explosives the boy had made. I remember rushing over to the hunter's house to dig out the unused portion of Feng Xiaoxi's explosives from his room. I originally intended to confiscate them for safekeeping, so they would not be used for harm. Who would have thought that they really should have been kept from me?
Oh, it all becomes clear. Venerable Elder, at this juncture, what does your heart now tell you?
I don't care if I die now. I just feel bad for those I've wronged. Feng Xiaoxi, though the boy was paranoid and reckless, it's not as if he was rotten at his core. He destroyed the ancestors' temple for the sake of his father, out of a sense of filial piety. To make matters worse, none of this had anything to do with him. He was only 15, so young, and we drove him to his death. The other boy, I don't know where he came from, or what he came here to do, but he stayed here and did not go back. Now his family will never hear of him, no matter how much they cry and wail. But even when I prayed for him before my ancestors, all I could call him was Feng Xiaoxi. I don't dare consider whether his soul would be able to rest in peace, fearing that it would forever haunt Moushan village. Please, don't come any closer, Shifu.
After hearing the prayer thou didst offer, I have been chanting sutras for the boy in my spare time these past few days. A pity that my head priest never formally taught me taught me more than a few full sutras, but hopefully my sincerity was enough.
Now everything has come to light. Those 2 lives, if the mandarins decide to pursue the leads, 1,000 households, 100 people will all be implicated because of my actions. I know how deeply I've sinned, which is why I do not dare beg for forgiveness from the ancestors. All I can do is...
Yep. See thine improper thoughts. This is the last pouch of explosives, yes?
I hid it on me thinking you wouldn't notice. I was planning on killing myself before you showed up, but after mulling it over some more, I couldn't even follow through with that. 3 years ago, Feng Xiaoxi was able to pull the string on the buried explosives. Looks like I don't even have the spine to match a child.
Didst thou believe ending thy life would form an adequate solution to all that has happened here? Wrong. Incorrect. No, this is thine assumption that thou couldst abandon the situation, that thou couldst avoid living with the consequences. The time when thou knew not that I was here, the words thou didst offer to the ancestor were full of self-pity, for acting on behalf of the village, mentioning nothing of the explosives, or of the boy's death. That night, had the nameless boy not passed by the foot of the mountain, had the explosives dislodged not but dirt and pebble, had the mudslide washed away only the Qiubai, wouldst thou have come upon the same fate as now? Couldst thou know if there was as well a little foul beast happened to fly by, stopping to preen itself feathers, only to be drowned in the sand and mud? Now, what will become of the Qiubai, and of this temple, and of the entire village? Had a mudslide never come, thou ought yet repent for the rain that never should have fallen.
I'll explain everything to the mandarins. The old man gathers the pieces of the dismantled explosives in front of him. After kneeling for so long, he has nearly lost all sensation in his legs, and he falls to the ground again. The coldness pours into his forehead, and he feels as if he cannot stand back up, able to do nothing but prostrate himself, lower and lower. The two souls before him seem to be causing quite the uproar, but the mountain excavator does not pay them any heed. A few pieces of mud have peeled off the eye sockets of the clay sculpture, and it is difficult to tell if its sight was fixed on the ruined beams of the pillar or the desolate land just outside it. Clear are the clouds and warm is the breeze, just in time for Chunfen.
Are you awake yet? Your vision's a bit blurry, but you can still tell good from evil. Looks like your brain's intact. Remember what I said before, that you were at least afraid of death? Seems like you didn't hold on to that either. So, this is the third time I've saved your life. You really had the guts to dive off the cliff, huh? I'm not a foul beast after all, and nearly lost my own life going after you. Thank you. Don't mention it. I was the one who brought you back, so of course I'd rather nothing happened to you. But I didn't expect you to actually jump, which slowed my reaction. If you don't feel like talking, then don't. You can still walk, can't you? I'm not planning to head back to the village. If you don't know where you want to go, I suppose you can follow me around for a while.
Alright.
You asked me about my life story before, didn't you? Maybe this would be the right time to tell you. Back when the army broke through the river fort of Jiangxi, my father and a number of other bandits were put to death, but I managed to escape. To the government, I'm also a person without a name. There are many, many nameless people in this land. Just like you, just like me, just like the boy who nearly became Feng Xiaoxi. A name is certainly important, but it's more important for you to understand the meaning behind that name. If you want to stand up and fight injustice, does it really matter what you are called? Sometimes you'll make bigger waves and accomplish more things without a name. Only by letting go of meaningless obsessions can we truly recognize what we are meant to do. I don't expect you to understand my words right now. I have my own things to do, so I can't take care of you forever. But if you truly want to learn Kung Fu, I can teach you for now. When you're capable enough to establish yourself, or figure things out on your own, or find something else worth living for, you're free to leave at any time. But know that there are many who succumb to evil and cause calamity after acquiring power. If you become a man like that, I will kill you. Alright. I'll teach you another saying we have among Jiangsu martial artists. It pretty much means the same thing as there's always next time. Daiju Fangshan. Tomorrow is long. Do you understand? Yes. Then hurry it up. Alright.
Alright then, and with that, let us finish off our finale today with the final story in here, titled Lone Mountain. So let's begin. Infection Diary. Went to the hospital today, finally got closure. It's better to know that there are rocks in my body than worry about whether they're there or not. I've been a hospital regular since I was little. Maybe that's why I didn't feel much when the doctor gave me his prognosis. What's the meaning of life? It's a question that countless films and books have explored, and a question that means nothing to me anymore. In the days I have left, I want to make something that truly belongs to me. I've often wondered if our vision has been limited by the environment we can see and the land portrayed on the television screen without us realizing it. We've gotten used to the sight of imposing skyscrapers and nights illuminated by neon glow, but we've forgotten how the vast nomadic cities are only a small part of this great land. How small is man in all this? My farewell will be a documentary. I will leave familiar waters and go as far as I can to see sights I've never seen before. Who lives in the furthest corners of the world, and what kind of lives do they lead? Filming a documentary by myself won't be easy. The thought of carrying so much equipment across such distance is daunting enough on its own. But what have I got to lose? Maybe I get a ripathy attack. Maybe I'm getting a ripathy attack halfway and everything's over right then and there. My time is better spent thinking of a title for the work. 337 letters and 25 packages, correct? Correct, but are you sure you can carry all that? Sure, I'm used to it. 2-week trip, with a sidetrack to a town in the west for an urgent delivery. Things are always busy at the start of the new year. Sorry about the workload. Don't worry, it comes with the territory. Oh, and... Yeah, go on. Well, I bought my family some new clothes and nutriments for the new year. I was hoping you might have the time to, but... Just hand over the goods. Oh, thank you so much, boss. Oh, cut it out. I'm not your boss. You're older than me, aren't you? How many pieces is it? That's why I wasn't sure. I should say... I mean, if it's too much, just load them up. A few pieces more or less won't make a difference. Thanks. Oh, and send my love to my folks if you see them. Tell them I'll definitely be back for the next new year. Gotcha. I'd better get going. Excuse me, can I have a moment of your time? Who? Me? Yes. Are you the local messenger? Guess so. I handle all the letters and parcels in these mountains. And who might you be? Oh, I'm a director. I'm filming a documentary about this region. Can I travel with you for a while? And with your permission, film you as well? I'm telling the truth. It's just that I lost my ID on my way here from the last village, and I don't have anything else on me to prove my identity. Look, all I have in my bag is filming equipment. Did you say documentary? Well, a documentary is... I know what a documentary is, but why me? I want to record the lives of the people who live in these mountains, but I don't know the area. As a messenger, I'm sure you... Alright, I get it. I'll stay out of your way, I promise. I'm afraid I can't compensate you, but I would be happy to put your name on the top of the credits. That's not what I'm worried about. Well, alright. I'm not sure what you're trying to film, but as long as you can keep up. I left a simple farewell letter to my parents and a few close friends, asking them to forgive me for leaving without saying goodbye. I've never been good with words, and time is short. My parents always wanted to keep me sheltered. I understand their worries, but I also have my reasons. I hope they'll understand when they watch the film. I felt joy and excitement as I never had before when for the first time my feet touched the earth that was real, not man-made. I felt as though I saw more in the span of a few months than I had in all the decades prior. I saw starry skies clear and bright, saw the soil turned over by catastrophe, saw Qiubai builders busy at work in the barren lands, saw catastrophe messengers tirelessly traveling from one place to another. I traversed uninhabitable deserts, crossed silent glaciers and passed by peaceful verdant villages. They invited me to stay for the Yanese New Year's Eve, and to share in a cup of michiu that they made themselves. That word right there, very quickly. Rice wine. Literally. Anyway, continuing. In fact, I've had enough of writing stories that cater to the audience, all for a few more tickets sold at the box office, a few guffaws or tears, then forgotten forever. Art is not something to be consumed once and thrown away. It should have some sort of lasting meaning, some sort of weight. Why not capture the authentic lives of the people, rather than try to make fox imitations of them? Every frame my camera captures is meaningful. I want to see with my own eyes distant lands and the people who live there. Now, in my last days, I feel more alive than ever. Ironically, it's only made me more afraid of the end. Narration. The Messenger's day begins before sunrise, at the hour when starlight begins to give way to dawn. In remote regions like this, the delivery of parcels, letters, even simple messages requires no ordinary effort. Messengers embark on long journeys into the wilds, facing a multitude of risks and challenges. This messenger, for instance, walks a dozen li every day. Dozens of li. A dozen li won't even get me over a single peak. Oh, sorry, my mistake. I'll redo the narration. Sorry, I have to laugh there for a moment. Him taking deep breaths before before re-recording is me taking deep breaths before beginning any of these videos. Anyway, pardon. You still good? Need help with your backpack? No. I can handle it. We only reached one village today. That's a lot slower than normal. I'm sorry, I'll do my best to keep up. Just take it easy. Let's take a break. It would only be more trouble if you collapsed. You're not exactly an athlete, by the looks of it. Have some water. And tie this bandage around your ankle, or by tomorrow it'll be swollen, and you can't even walk. Thank you. Sorry about this, I didn't mean to be a burden. Huh, not like I ever expected a city boy to keep up with me. What exactly have you been filming anyway? Just the scenes and people along the way. I've seen movies too, seen the glamorous scenes, handsome actors and beautiful actresses. Is there a reason you're filming bare mountains like these? Of course there is. True beauty lies in that which is authentic. Glamorous, whitewashed scenes are no more than a deception. There is meaning in filming that which no one has ever seen, and that which has become lost to the passage of time, so that more people can see them. Since we're taking a break, may I interview you? Interview? Just asking some questions. You don't have to answer if you don't want to. I guess. Do I talk into the camera? Have you always lived in these mountains? I left for a few years to go to school, and came back after graduating. Could you talk about this place from your own perspective? Talk about it? It's just what you're looking at. Ordinary mountains. Far away from civilization. Not a lot of people here, and even fewer visitors. Nothing's really changed as far as I can remember, other than the building of the Qiubai. How do people here make a living? Most years we grow enough to feed ourselves, and trade any surplus we have for other things we need. The climate may be dry, but it's just right for certain fruits. A while back I was thinking whether there was a way to sell the fruit grown in the village to the cities. But the cost of transportation was too high, so nothing came of it. A lot of the villages looked pretty empty. People had been moving to the nomadic cities for years. The young people went first, now even the children and elderly are following. Not much has changed here, but the cities expand quickly. There are more jobs there. I'm the only one left in the village where I grew up. They went to the cities? Why did you stay here? I'm infected after all. Maybe I could have gone if I really wanted to, but I took a look at myself in the mirror, and traversing these mountains is what I do best. Rather than start from scratch in an unfamiliar place, I would rather do what I can, especially if this helps other people.
Plus, who would deliver the mail if I left?
Isn't it tough?
Have you ever thought it was unfair? Tough? Is there anything that isn't tough? I'm more comfortable doing what I'm good at, what I'm familiar with. As far as fair or unfair, who's to judge that sort of stuff? I would rather just do my job. Or did you think that life outside the cities was hell? Things might be monotonous here, but it's not so bad that we have to beg for sympathy. There is nothing wrong with working hard and making a simple, grounded living.
I guess you're right.
How could there be change if things continue like this? Change? Things are changing every day. Today's house is a little more solid than yesterday, and today's crops grow a little taller.
That's not the kind of change I'm talking about. I'm talking about change on a larger scale, on a structural level. People shouldn't be limited by what they were born into. They should have equal access to resources and opportunities, no matter where they live.
Sure, that's a nice thought to have, but you've got to start with solid hard work after all. Let's give this a rest. We've gone way off topic.
Alright, we can talk about something else. What about yourself?
Myself? What is there to talk about?
As a messenger, what sort of regrets do you have? What are your hopes for the future? What's been the most unforgettable thing in your career?
Unforgettable thing? I'll tell you, but only if you turn off the camera.
Sure.
There was one time when I was hurrying through the mountains overnight to make an urgent delivery. It was raining, and the dirt on the slopes started to come loose. Rocks came rolling down the slope.
Was your infection...
No. I saw a big rock that was about to fall onto the parcels. I don't know what I was thinking in the heat of the moment, so I tried to knock it away with my horns. That's how I broke my left horn.
Are you laughing? Sorry, I didn't mean to.
Whatever. Still better than the long look on your face when you've been having. I find it funny too. I still carry the broken horn with me. It reminds to remind myself not to rush on rainy nights. And maybe I could find a doctor to put it back if I get the chance. I've done a lot of dumb things and seen a lot of interesting sights on my deliveries. But I'm usually by myself, and there's no one to tell my stories to.
Well, here's your chance. Any other stories you care to tell?
And have you ever thought that you're not really by yourself when you're delivering?
When you look back at your life, what do you feel? I've asked many people the same question, and the answers are often similar. All the ups and downs of life summarized in a few words. The messenger talked about life in the mountains, her lost home, her infection, as though she was talking about going out for a walk after dinner. But what kind of pain, suffering, and frustration lie behind her dispassionate words? What helplessness does she feel, of which even she is not aware? We are all equally helpless before the great maw of reality. How would I answer the question myself? What more can I record with my camera, and what more can I do before the end comes? What would I leave behind? And quickly before we continue, if you've wondered right now after hearing, oh, she carries the horn on herself? Can you see it in her heart? Yes, it is. Right here on her weapon in the back, dangling off of it. Anyway,
we'll camp in this forest today.
Do you always camp outside like this when you're out delivering?
I spend the night in villages whenever I can, but sometimes they're too far away to make it before sundown. Bad luck to have to camp outside on your first trip to the mountains. But I'm surprised you've made it this far. I thought you would give up a long time ago.
I might have done that in the past, but there are reasons why I have to keep going this time. The job of a messenger is harder than I thought.
You get used to it after a while. I guess doing this once is plenty for you. But there are many who will remain trapped here, far away from civilization after I'm gone. I'm hoping there will come a day when people don't have to live like this anymore. Like this? Yes, maybe bringing attention to how things are here can help bring about change. I don't understand why you keep talking about changing this place. Like a few words could change anything. All I can do is raise awareness. But it's worth trying so we can change this backwater. Enough. I don't get what you're going for with this so-called documentary. You said you wanted to learn about the people's lives, but what have you actually learned? You don't know how the people farm, what they do as the seasons change, how they drill wells in the wild. You don't even know the price of a pound of grain. You don't know anything. I may not know much, but I've seen things here with my own eyes. Didn't you say you wanted to see change? Yes, life here is hard, much poorer than in the cities. But the people here do their best to make a living in their own way. For someone like you who doesn't actually know the place here, who are you to judge our lives and look down on us? What gives you the right to talk about change? You've got a lot of grand to talk about compassion, but in the end, you're just looking down on us, pitying us. You don't need me to guide you, and I'm not gonna help you with your documentary anymore. Zhejian. Sorry, that's not what I meant. Wait! Leave me alone. Sometime later, on Rhode Island. I've done what I could to fix the camera. Check it out. Is the data in there still good? Yes, thanks. It's the newest model released last year. I wanted one too, but couldn't bring myself to spend half a year's income. How did it get so damaged though? Did the old owner throw it or something? No, nothing like that. So what's in it? Some scenery, I guess. Your test results are in wind chimes. Thanks. I can give you the room if you want to look at them now. Hey, these aren't too bad. You had me worried there for a second. I'm not exactly a doctor, but those are in great numbers. Remember to wear proper protective equipment on your deliveries. Will do. Thanks. I appreciate you telling me about Rhode Island and about the village. Thank you for everything. I thought it was just a natural disaster when I went there. I never could have imagined there was such a story behind it. I just wonder if I had showed up a little earlier. Don't say that. No point in dwelling on it. Everyone is helpless in the face of these things. The boy who died in the mudslide. I'm sorry, I contacted Shuxian HQ and asked for recent reports of missing persons. We haven't had a match yet. I see. There's just so little information. No name, no ID, no idea where he came from. Do you have any more information about the video? Maybe it could provide a clue. He was infected. Other than that... Well, that doesn't really... Don't worry, I'll keep looking. I'm sure he left something behind on his journey. You came so far and met so many people. Someone like you must have left some trace. Somewhere amongst all the sights you saw, there will be word about you. Oh, by the way, I'm going to Moushan on one of these days. I want to check on the rebuilding of the disaster fortifications there. Sure, let's go together. A quick little flashback in Moushan. Hey, any letters for me? Stop pushing. I see my letter. No need to rush, folks. Get in line, one at a time. See there, Wang? Letter for you. Now stop crying. Good news about your son's university application, Zhang. I see you're grinning from ear to ear. Congrats. I've never seen faces like that. People gather around the messenger waiting for new news carried on a single piece of paper. news from their loved ones beyond the mountains. On everyone's faces is sincere expectation, sincere emotion. I share in their feelings through the camera lens. Their expectations are humble, but they are not lacking in emotions. Perhaps the lives of people are not so different after all. All the ups and downs of life summarized in a few words. Life and death, joy and sorrow, meeting and parting. What are you filming? Back to the present. 2 months have passed, and the village looks very different. It is the idle season for farming, but the villagers are as busy as ever. A few more wells have popped up, and the villagers gather around the fields to study newly installed irrigation equipment. A drop of dew falls on her face. She looks up to see that a few flowers have bloomed on the old pagoda tree at the village entrance, swaying with the warm summer breeze. She remembers something that someone said to her once. When you hurry through the night, do you forget to look up at the stars above or down to see the flowers blooming in the cracks of the path? Wind Chimes picks up the camera. Ready, I'm gonna press it. Are you sure it won't blow up? 3, 2... It's moving! What's this? A tractor we made out of tools abandoned by the Qiubai builders. We learned how to do it from the books. Quiet down, they'll yell at us if they find out. What did you build it for? To go to Yumen. We've always wanted to see the big city. I hear there are huge shopping malls there, giant movie theaters, and pianos as big as the Elder's backyard. What's the point? We'll have to come back. So much going on in the village, drilling new wells, fixing the pipes, moving the Moushan temple. So many things to do since the Elder left, and no one knows where to start. You need to look higher and further. We'll be able to do what we want once we grow up. You've been to the cities, right, Lady Messenger? It's good to see places you've never seen before. Let me take a photo for you. Carry the photo with you and you'll always be able to remember what home looks like, even when you're far away. Let's do it! Commemoration for our big adventure! Over here, we'll sit on the tractor. Look at the camera and smile. 3, 2... If your last wish is to finish the journey and the documentary, then I'll do all I can to help you fulfill it. Maybe I finally understand why you do this. There are sights that I've never noticed, even in familiar places. Villages disappear and people leave, but they leave behind traces that can be captured. Thank you for telling me your stories and listening to mine. I'm sorry I didn't get to know you better. The less than amicable parting with the interviewee is yet another unexpected challenge, but I have to keep going. The arrangement made me reflect and realize that one cannot rely on books alone to learn about life. My understanding of hardship remains shallow. Life is a journey with predetermined starting and ending points, a journey that one stumbles through, searching for a path. The paths may differ, but we all fight against the tides of fate and struggle against the monsters of reality for the sake of the scenery we cling to. These struggles are a source of hardship, yet they are also noble. I may have had misfortune, but never misery. This realization has set my mind at ease. I shall go forward and keep walking. I should apologize to the messenger if I see her. Maybe I'd better do it now. Hello, Miss Messenger. I don't have a pen or paper with me, so all I can do is record my apology this way. I'm sorry for offending you. I wanted to explain that I don't mean to look down on anyone. I just wanted to do what I can, to do something meaningful just like you. I really respect your commitment and courage. I haven't been able to live authentically like you do, but thanks to you, I'm a little closer to authentic. Once again, I apologize for offending you, and for my lack of understanding.
I hope you will see this apology, informal as it is someday. Yours sincerely. Oof. Hey, watch where you're going. You said this machine keeps anything you see forever? Yes, it permanently records anything it captures. Can you record me too? Sure. What do you want to say? My name is Feng Xiaoxi. I'm going to be the greatest hero in all the lands. Remember the name. You'll hear it again soon. Alright, I will. Anyway, I've gotta run. There's a great demon after me. I'm off. Zaijian. Alright. Zaijian. And that would be the end of this little side story. And before I go into my thoughts as per usual here on the end of the episodes, first let me say thank you very much for watching and listening to these narrations. And if you've liked this video, please consider leaving a like. It helps me a lot and means a lot to me, as I said before. And if you're new to the channel, consider subscribing. There's a lot more stuff on the channel if you just want to sit back and listen to older Arknight stories or newer ones that literally like this one pop up whenever they are fresh. And yeah, enjoy. Alright, so this was kind of a heavy-hitting story, not gonna lie. Like, it started off as some goofy shenanigans that they were plotting around the death of some unknown young man to use his corpse for, well, to gain money from it, essentially. And as that was already kind of, okay, what the hell are you guys doing? But then again, we end literally almost in a double suicide on this part. Oh my god. That went somewhere, jeez. I was not, going into the story, I was not expecting Feng Xiaoxi to be like, I'ma jump off this mountain. Holy hell. But yeah, very, very, well, very straightforward story about stepping onto the wrong path and not having the courage to step back from it. When you just dumb it down to one single message. And I think it was also best described around all of that by Saga here as well in the Nameless Minion portion of this story. When it comes to all of that. But yeah, very interesting. Didn't know what to expect from this story going into it, considering it's pretty much just Qiubai's story after, well, it was supposed to be, at least at first glance, Qiubai's story when going after Yumen to pursue the Shenkai Zhong, but led into helping a young boy find new meaning in life? Boy. That little guy went through some shenanigans as well. And he did some shenanigans to the village too. And the village is not to be, you know, excused. They didn't really communicate properly with his father and stuff. And yeah, what to say? Could also be, the story could also be summarized down to people not communicating enough with each other. Or what's the word I'm looking for? Not communicating, but not doing enough, not understanding each other enough. Stuff like that. I'm bad with those words. Anyway, overall, pretty good vignette side story, gotta say. There's been a couple of good vignette side stories in the past, like, year. Usually they are like a mixture of either you're gonna get a vignette side story that is individual stories for individual characters, or you're gonna get a continuous one which picks from somewhere up or tells its own story. And this year alone we had two very good ones. One, the one that was kind of like a mishmash of things is the one that is the to be continued one, which is literally what I said earlier, a couple of stories that are picking up on other stories in general. But Mlinar's one that continued from the Neural Light one and this one are pretty good on their own. Well, Mlinar's one did require a bit more understanding of what was going on there to have better understanding. This one is almost a standalone. Like, outside of a couple of mentions towards prior things in the whole Sui saga, this one is pretty much a standalone story when you think about it. And like I said at the beginning, Qiubai's pretty much entire arc was already covered in what's it called? In Vernal Winds. And we have Saga, who... I love how she just casually mentions that at some point she was inside of a painting to people, like, alright then. I'm more surprised that that the old man didn't react with painting? What? But yeah, anyway. She went through some crazy shenanigans as well. And yeah, it was actually nice seeing her again in a story. It's been a while, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the last time she was part of a side story, or a story in general, was the Who is Real side story from, like, what, 2 years ago at this point? And I don't remember if there was anything, like, side story-wise else. I'm literally trying to think right now, but I can't remember. But it was nice seeing her again and hearing a bit about her journey as well, and, well, other journeys she went through on her path to where she is now. It was also nice seeing Mulberry in a side story again, outside of her operator record. Even though, again, I don't know, she's a nice character and all, but nothing substantial has so far happened around her. Like, I would have loved if she would have been a bit maybe more involved, but she was more of a, oh, I've stumbled upon this kind of character. Like, there wasn't really any kind of development. Her operator record, on the other hand, has a bit more development around her as a character and shows her a bit better. But yeah, not much. I was also about to say that wind chimes, outside of appearing in a couple of small scenes throughout the whole thing, like in the second half of the story, I thought for a moment she's gonna be shafted completely until the last part where, well, she is on the banner for the last part, but you know, you never know what to expect for that. But it was nice seeing the last part where you actually see the journey of the young man who died in the mudslide, which was very interesting to watch. I wonder if that will be referenced at any given point. I'm gonna try to remember it for future side stories, but I wonder if the documentary she is, and that's a very nice gesture as well, that she is gonna continue filming his documentary for him in his stead, and man, I guess at least he left a goodbye message for her. Also, he ran into Fang. He just, well, I don't know if that scene is well, it definitely is directly before he dies, where he runs into Fang, because Fang mentions literally to him that he's running from a demon, which definitely means he ran into him as Qiubai was after his ass. But yeah, when it comes to Fang as a character, I don't know. How to put him? I think his actions were a bit way too extreme. And I really do hope, I mean, he is a child and teenager and everything, and he didn't want to compromise on what was happening. And he has all right to be frustrated about his father's actions, because his father, considering that he was an outsider to the village, was continuously, like, just taking the punches from the village, not fighting back, not saying anything, because, again, he is an outsider. Why should he say anything? He should have said something, quite honestly. It's not like the village hated him or anything. He just had to say something and stand up for himself, but he never did, which is very sad. It's very, very sad to see. And the whole of all of that stuff driving... Jesus Christ. Driving the boy to jump off a goddamn cliff in front of his father. My god. Anyway, his anger is understandable. Maybe too harsh the way he lashed out at the village. But again, understandable. And well, I hope there's gonna be some kind of continuation further down the line, where we see what happens to him at some point, considering that he's gonna travel around now with Qiubai, and who knows, maybe she will actually manage to teach him something, and maybe he will find some new place to be in his life. But we shall see. But yeah, the village itself that he lived on was, boy, that was a depiction of people who are on the brink of everything collapsing around them and just latching onto this one thing that was suggested for them, and not even probably questioning it at the beginning, but just went with it because, well, it's our only option. What else should we do? But boy, they went very, very mental for some of it. Well, hopefully they calm down now. They did get some money. Hopefully they reflect on shit and actually make an effort. And yeah, who knows? Probably the village probably will never get mentioned again, but like shown or mentioned again. But who knows? I would rather find out if something happens, or rather how things go for Fang. And actually, I do wonder if he's gonna pick up a new name now, or if he's gonna remain with the name he has. But very interesting. Once again, we also see a couple of scenes when it comes to Qiubai about her past. Like I said before, most of her past was already covered in Vernal Winds, but was nice seeing that conversation between her, her mother, and her father. Oh, and speaking of, I do wonder, because Saga talked about a story about a lawman who stole some pieces of gold and then went into banditry. I really wonder if that story is about her family, Qiubai's family, that is. They put that story in there, but reading it immediately like triggered my head to be like, is she talking maybe about her father? Like Qiubai's father? And how he went down the wrong path? Because of a single decision he made. Pretty much greed drove him to. Well, greed and panic. Or rather, greed drove him to, then his colleague was trying to blackmail him, and then that drove him into a panic. And then he went completely down the wrong path instead of just, you know, telling it straight up and apologizing. But yeah, yet another story about people going down the wrong path. But yeah, overall, I did like the story. Very conflicting characters, went down a very dark path, which is both appreciated and, oh boy, did not expect it to go that kind of dark. But yeah, what can you do? Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed this side story. And, well, we shall see what comes next. I believe that the next story after this should be... It's probably gonna be the rerun for Guide Ahead, which is fine. But we'll see, considering this will end in 3 days. There is that. There is Monster Hunter, which I don't think will be up until the end of September, but I'm looking forward to it. And who knows if they will change anything in the schedule, because there's also the next contingency contract season, but we'll see. Depending on what comes next, if the next thing is gonna be a rerun, I'm gonna do the usual where I'm gonna post 2 stories for you guys to choose between on the community section on YouTube, so you know, we'll see. We'll see when the time comes. But anyway, thank you all for listening. I hope you enjoyed this side story, and I hope you have a fantastic day wherever you are, and I will see you in the next video. Until then, bye bye.